My apartment was a haven of warmth and light, a fortress against the storm howling outside. Rain lashed against the windows, a rhythmic drumming lullaby. I nestled deeper into my armchair, book in hand, the glow of the lamp casting long shadows across the room. It was a night best enjoyed from within, safe and snug. Then, a flicker at the edge of my vision. A fleeting silhouette dancing at the corner of my eye. I dismissed it as a trick of the shadows, the wind playing with the curtains. But it came again, a dark blot against the pale wallpaper. This time, I couldn't ignore it. Slowly, I set down my book, heart hammering a discordant rhythm against my ribs. The rain seemed to amplify, each drop a tiny cymbal crash in the growing silence. I crept towards the window, fingers tracing the smooth, cool glass. Outside, the streetlights bled into an orange haze through the downpour. And there, standing sentinel beneath a skeletal tree, was him. A man. Dark figure swallowed by the night, a shapeless smudge against the glistening asphalt. He stood unmoving, eyes boring into the very fabric of my building, into the very room where I stood paralyzed. My breath hitched, caught in my throat like a trapped bird. He wasn't just staring. He knew. I could feel it, a certainty tingling down my spine. He knew I was watching, that I was trapped in my little cage of light, a moth drawn to a flame. Time stretched, warped by fear. Each second an eternity, each heartbeat a thunderclap in my head. Then, slowly, impossibly, he began to move. Not towards the apartment building, but away, melting into the shadows like a wraith returning to its crypt. Relief washed over me, leaving me weak and trembling. I sank back against the wall, eyes glued to the empty street. Rain continued to fall, but the storm within me had passed, leaving a hollowness in its wake. Who was he? Why was he watching? The questions swirled in my mind, unanswered and unsettling. Sleep didn't come that night, replaced by a cold vigil, a constant awareness of the shadows outside my window. And every gust of wind, every whisper of rain, echoed with the unsettling knowledge that somewhere, in the darkness, unseen eyes were watching. My haven felt less like a fortress, more like a fragile bubble waiting to be pricked. The storm outside paled in comparison to the tempest raging within, a chilling reminder that the monsters don't always lurk beneath the bed. Sometimes, they stand just outside your window, waiting for the right moment to creep in.
On a chilly January afternoon, with a dampness that seemed to cling to everything, my friend Alex and I sat in his basement, devouring burgers under the dim glow of a single bulb. The room was filled not only with the scent of fast food, but also with the tension of our teenage musings. Unbeknownst to us, shadows moved mysteriously at the periphery of our attention. Abruptly, a harsh cough pierced the air, causing us to halt our conversation. Our eyes shifted to the source, Alex's estranged relative, a looming figure hidden in the basement's low light. His typically hearty demeanor was replaced by a pained expression, spittle gathering on his lips as he struggled with each breath. However, it wasn't his cough that sent a shiver down my spine. It was his peculiar actions. His aged hands, adorned with dust and forgotten relics, meticulously covered every surface with an odd iridescent substance. Books, toys, and even family photographs all became victims of this strange ritual. Alex, usually composed, gasped, "What on earth are you doing?" The relative, eyes vacant and distant, turned to us, a strained smile contorting his face. "Just maintaining order," he wheezed, his voice strained. "Ensuring everything remains preserved." A strange tension filled the air, not just from the scent of the peculiar substance, but from an unsettling energy. An indescribable unease crawled up my spine, signifying this was more than a mere eccentricity. This was an enigma that eluded our adolescent understanding. Retreating cautiously, Alex's grip on my hand tightened as we distanced ourselves from the bizarre scene. The relative chuckled, an eerie sound resonating in the confined space, sending a chill through my body. At that moment, we knew we had to escape. This wasn't a disagreement over odd habits, it was something beyond our comprehension, something lurking in the recesses of a troubled mind. Navigating through discarded items and overturned boxes, we hurried up the basement stairs, leaving behind the haunting sounds of Alex's distressed relative. We only stopped once we were outside, taking in deep breaths of the crisp air, finding solace in the normalcy of our suburban surroundings. The incident became a silent agreement between us. We avoided discussing it, yet the memory lingered as an unsolved riddle in our minds. A lingering reminder of the mysteries that can lie beneath seemingly ordinary facades. And whenever I catch a hint of that peculiar substance, I am transported back to that basement, a silent observer of an unexplained phenomenon. The aftermath of that day deepened our unspoken pact. Alex's sister, once full of life, withdrew and became guarded. Rumors circulated of peculiar encounters with their relative, creating a sense of unease in our school community. Eventually, she vanished without a trace, leaving an empty space and a lingering suspicion that the basement's bizarre rituals had claimed another victim. Months later, Alex decided to leave, distancing himself from the shadows of his troubled past. As for me, I stayed behind, marked by the strange encounter in the basement, a silent keeper of an unsolved mystery, a testament to the unknown complexities that can hide within the seemingly mundane.
And the ominous shadows that clung to the deserted campus. Back then, I was a freshman, blissfully unaware of the secrets veiled beneath the surface of our seemingly secure campus. What was intended to be a routine walk home after a late-night study session soon unfolded into a nightmarish ordeal that seemed ripped from the pages of a dark thriller. As the library lights dimmed at midnight, I made my way across the silent campus, the echo of my footsteps resonating on the quiet brick path. The crescent moon offered meager illumination, casting elongated and distorted shadows that played tricks on my senses. Clutching my books tightly, I muttered reassurances to dispel the unsettling silence that enveloped me. It was then that I spotted her, a diminutive figure, huddled on a distant bench. Initially, I thought of hurrying past, attributing the sighting to my hyperactive imagination, fueled by caffeine and late-night horror stories. Yet, a flicker of concern compelled me to stop. "Hello," I called out, my voice barely audible in the vast emptiness. The figure remained motionless, shrouded in the darkness beneath a looming oak tree. With cautious steps, I approached, and as the moonlight filtered through skeletal branches, the scene became clearer. Contrary to my initial impression, it wasn't a child but a girl around my age, her face stained with dirt and tears, her clothes in tatters. Hollow eyes stared into the distance, seemingly oblivious to my presence. A chill ran down my spine, colder than the November air. Kneeling beside her, I asked with a tentative voice, "Are you okay? Do you need help?" Her lips moved, but no sound emerged. For a moment, I wondered if she was mute, a victim of some cruel fate. Then, in a raspy whisper, she spoke. "They're coming," she croaked, her eyes darting anxiously into the darkness. "They're going to take me again." Panic gripped me. I searched for a rational explanation, but only found an eerie void. Who were they? Where were they taking her? Was it an elaborate prank or a dark initiation gone awry? Before I could respond, a rustling from the woods behind us sent a fresh wave of terror. The girl, sensing my fear, seized my hand with an icy grip. "Run," she hissed, desperation lacing her voice. Instinct took hold, and we fled through the darkness, my mind a blur, heart pounding. Every rustle and snap fueled our fear until we reached the brightly lit dawns, a stark contrast to the chilling chase. Exhausted, I collapsed onto a bench, the adrenaline coursing through my veins. Yet, the girl had vanished, leaving behind only the echo of her words and the cold tendrils of fear. Despite my account, no evidence of her existence was found. Campus security dismissed it as a hallucination, a product of an overworked mind. But I knew the truth. That night, I had glimpsed something sinister lurking just beyond the well-lit facade of our campus. And though years have passed, the haunting memory of that encounter remains, a reminder of the shadows concealed in plain sight, waiting for the unsuspecting to stumble into their clutches.
As the plane pulled away from South Bend, a sense of calm settled over the cabin. But then, a strange scent caught my attention, an acrid whiff, like burnt rubber laced with an unfamiliar chemical. It was unusual, unlike the typical mishmash of spilled coffee or occasional odors. The feeling of unease gripped my stomach as I embarked on an investigation. Row by row, passengers remained blissfully unaware of the silent alarm ringing in my head. Thankfully, the source wasn't near them, but the odor grew stronger as I approached the back galley. Standing by the service door, I faced the truth: the avionics bay emitted the burning smell. Panic surged through me. Training scenarios flashed before my eyes. Plane fires were no joke. Heart pounding, I radioed the cockpit, "Mayday. Smoke in the rear. Possible electrical malfunction." The pilot's calm voice responded, "Roger that. Initiating emergency descent." Adrenaline kicked in, and I switched to autopilot. Passengers, mostly oblivious, exchanged confused murmurs. I informed them of the situation, my voice concealing the fear within. Every bump and wobble heightened the anxiety. It wasn't turbulence, it was a battle against an unseen foe. Minutes stretched into an eternity. Then, the welcome announcement came: "Brace for landing, folks. Descending in Minneapolis." I held my breath as the plane descended, tires screeching on the tarmac, an unsettling symphony signaling our deliverance. Emergency lights bathed the cabin in an eerie glow, and relief flooded over me. Evacuation unfolded smoothly, my training guiding the process. Passengers, faces pale yet orderly, disembarked onto the tarmac. The fire crew arrived, a flurry of activity surrounding the now still plane. Later, we learned the cause. A chemical accident during maintenance, a near miss disguised as a burnt rubber smell. On that day, within the confines of the metal tube hurtling towards the earth, I faced mortality. Yet, I also witnessed the resilience of the human spirit, the heroism of my crew, and the courage of passengers in the face of the unknown. It was a baptism by fire, a day etched into my soul as a reminder that even in the face of the unthinkable, life endures. Now, every time I secure myself into the jump seat, a trace of that day remains. Instead of terror, it sparks a quiet gratitude. Gratitude for the chance to serve, to be part of the unseen safety net guiding people to their destinations. Without a doubt, in that single, harrowing descent, I transformed into more than a flight attendant. I became a guardian, shepherding my flock through the storm. And that, my friends, is a tale worth sharing.